Hey, welcome back to AI Insiders. I'm Judson Voss, and today we are going to talk about how to repurpose content to your heart's content. There's a little pun, content. Anyways, please stay here. It gets better. We are going to talk about how to repurpose content with NotebookLM, Google's newest AI sort of tool feature, totally free. Just Google NotebookLM or type it in wherever you want, and it'll get you there. But as you can see here on the screen, this is a project we worked on another episode. I would recommend going back to there's a NotebookLM playlist on the channel here, AI Insiders. Recommend going back and watching some of that to see how we've got this content in here. Today, we're going to take what we grabbed last time and actually start to repurpose it into other content. So regardless of what you do, you're in marketing, you do other content creation, whatever that is, and you're always looking for new content, blog posts, social media. We're going to do some infographics. I don't even think infographics are cool anymore. I think infographics are totally cool. I don't think they're the end thing anymore, but we're going to play a little bit and we're going to expand a little outside the NotebookLM sphere into Claude and play with that too. But we're going to take some of the content that we aggregated here. We are going to create new content. We're going to take some of the content we had before and repurpose it. It's sort of like feeding on itself type of thing. And you're going to find out ways to create content quickly, easily, that's high quality, that you can use over and over again with NotebookLM. Before we get into the meat of it today, though, just a quick reminder, you can head on over to AI Insights. You see that here. You see the little subscribe button there. If you push that subscribe button, it will turn blue. But more importantly, it is going to keep you up to date on new videos as we keep coming out with more stuff on NotebookLM, and just in general to use AI to run your solopreneur business, your small business or medium-sized business. We've got you covered here. So today, let's get into the meat of why you're here. This is the notebook that we created last time. And you'll see in here, if you click the notebook guide when you're in NotebookLM, it'll pop up this window. Here's that audio that we had last time.
So-called expert telling you the world is ending.
It can feel like that for sure.
Especially if you're like me.
And you'll see very quickly what we did is we grabbed some website links. We grabbed some text that we had to pull off of websites that wouldn't let us grab the content from it automatically. And we brought this into our notebook. So the notebook is a place to aggregate information, whether it's Google Docs, Google Sheets, plain text, as you see here that we pasted in there, website links where it grabs the information of the text and brings it into NotebookLM, whatever content that is, it puts it all here. And the idea is, if you think about ChatGPT, ChatGPT is going throughout its entire knowledge base and answering questions for you or whatever that is that you interact with based on that. In this notebook, we've got this one individual notebook. And so we're putting information in here, and then we're asking it to do things specific to the knowledge that's in this notebook. You can see here, they've got a little guide once you've got some information in, like these sources we put on the side here. And you can create different things with it if you're in school, study guide, but you can have an FAQ, which would be really cool. Imagine your business, you have standard operating procedures, you've got it documented, drop that into NotebookLM, do an FAQ, and then the things that you're answering the most that are part of your standard operating procedures for your business or customer service or others, you could put that in here, automatically generate an FAQ that you can provide to your customers, put on your website, whatever that is. Matter of fact, I'd say go a step further. And when you generate that FAQ for your standard operating procedures, that's when you can start to put it out on social media, create blog posts on it. Again, generating more content from the content you already have. But let's look at how you do some of this today. Very first thing I'm going to say is, well, last time we created this podcast episode, it's got some wonderful content and information in it. Let's, believe it or not, take that content that the notebook created, and because it's not exactly the same as what we've placed in here, it's done its own thinking and that kind of thing. Let's take that audio content and bring it back in as a source for our notebook. I know that sounds sort of crazy, doesn't it? So if I go in here and I grab that source, that download that I just did and drag it in here. You'll see it's down here working it, but it is taking that information from that podcast episode, making it digestible for the system. And then we can do things with NotebookLM for that. All right. So we've got the content here. You'll see it give us a little cool little waveform, so we know that that was audio. And now we can start to create some content from it. So I'm going to come down here and start typing and say, from the audio file, AI for tech free. If it doesn't need to know much more. We only have one audio file. It'll figure it out. Create an engaging blog posts around 100 words. Okay. So just to recap, as it's running through there, we dropped some sources from other places, websites, into NotebookLM. We had it create an audio podcast file about 11 minutes long. It was a really high quality audio podcast. I listened to it. I enjoyed it. It seemed sort of weird, but that was the case. And then from there, we loaded that back into the notebook, that audio file. And then we came back and said, let's create a blog post from it. And you'll see here, it created a blog post. It even puts these cool little references in here so that we know where it got the information from in our different places. You'll notice it didn't just use the audio file. It actually grabbed other things from the notebook we dropped in here. You'll see it grabbed the Upwork file and put some information in there also. And it just ran through all the different pieces, created our H2 subheaders on there, and made probably a decent beginning for a blog post that we can then work with in the future. So that's sort of like generating on top of generating. But as I mentioned, that's the blog posts, create 5 social media posts. Breakdown. Right. So some social media posts here. Then it's going to think a little bit. By the way, you notice I on the prompt, I said, start a conversation, because we're not promoting something we're selling. It's not about promoting a piece of, what we're doing here is we're trying to start a conversation. And so I've asked it specifically to post for that. And if we take a look at some of our, and I said specific media, maybe, but you know, what I put on LinkedIn is different than what I put on Twitter, obviously different sizes. And then also different for Facebook pages. So I just wanted to call that out, and you can do that for all of these. And here we go. There's our post. Is AI a threat or an opportunity for tech freelancers? It's actually a really good job of what I said, which was start a conversation, right? So starting off with a little bit of fear and engagement and asking the question, that's a great way to start a conversation. And then it goes through professionals are unsure about the rise of AI, the truth, so on and so forth. Gave us some hashtags. That's probably a little short for me for LinkedIn, but not too bad. The next one's a little bit bigger. It has some bullet points, that type of thing. But that's number 2. We created a blog post from what we have in here. Now we created some social media posts from there also. The other thing that we can do, I mentioned this before, is infographics, right? Now, NotebookLM is not going to create an infographic for us, not slighting it in the least, but it doesn't have the ability to create an infographic. But Claude AI from Anthropic does. I'm not going to say they're crazy great, but I want to show them to you in a minute because they're actually usable, because it creates code and you can adjust it from there. So that's very helpful. So this is AI for tech freelancers is the idea behind the notebook. And maybe I want an infographic showing statistics and information about how tech professionals are freelancing using AI. Just making that up. Again, I can't do that here, but what I can do is create the description. So with stairs. Maybe not the best prompt ever in the world, but it's a prompt. It's got the word infographic in it. It's a description. Again, keep in mind, we're creating a description that we're going to feed somewhere else. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that again when it does this. And because I forgot one really important thing, not a stop button here. So we're going to wait for it to run. And it ran. I can. The output may not be any different by adding that little part about the telling it that I'm using this for Claude AI, but it might. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to do. So the other one actually is looking pretty nice when I look back through here while this is feeding through, and it gives us a really nice description. Can you imagine if you went to Claude and you put a prompt in for the same idea, which is creating an infographic for tech freelancers, what that would look like versus this prompt that it created instead. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy that basically prompt. I'm going to go to Claude. And I'm going to just paste that right into Claude. And run this and see what we get here. It is thinking through. It is generating the infographic. You see on the right, and this is what I'm talking about, what's neat about Claude. In this case, it is creating an infographic that is not just an image. It is not actually working. Good opportunity to talk about how we debug Claude. We just take that error, we paste that error, we hit enter. It's going to apologize. I always like that it apologizes. I don't think it feels bad, to be honest with you. But it's going to apologize, and it's going to go and fix itself. What a wonderful tool. I wish I had one of these for myself. Find my error, paste it, and then do that. So this is not very infographic-y, but now that I start looking at it, I take that back. It's sort of done a nice job with putting some pieces in here. You'd want to spruce it up and put it in your brand, that type of thing. But again, one of the cool things about what it did here is it actually created HTML and CSS code for the infographic versus just giving me a graphic. Now, if I wasn't happy with the graphic, I'd have to go back in there and tell it what to do differently. And maybe I get something better. Maybe it goes way off track and it's a mess. I don't really know. But in this case, I have editable HTML that I can grab and do something with. So I'm just going to download this guy and maybe play with him later. The reason I'm downloading it now is I'm going to play a little bit and see if I get something better. But if I don't, I've got a copy of that. And if ever, cool thing about Claude, you generate something, you see it puts it right here to open that component that it generated. If you don't like something that it creates later, you can just come back up with a conversation and grab that again. So this is actually pretty cool. Lots of good information. It's a lot of words though. And so maybe I want something that's just images or more images, less text. More visually oriented. There we go. I learned something new today. I'll create more visually oriented infographic. It's still using code though. In this case, it's using React to making a SVG file. Last time it did HTML. I think it does the SVG because it's an image, more image focused. Some problems here, but it has the opportunity. We're not going to go through it today. Some other time we'll talk about Claude and building things out, but it has the potential to create an infographic. It's just bugging me that they're laying on top of each other, some of this stuff. By the way, infographics spelled wrong, but Claude is smart enough to know my spelling. So as it goes back through there, it's going to run through. So, and these are just a few. We spent 15 minutes today going through just a few different ways that you could take NotebookLM and repurpose that content into other cool things. There's some other things too we'll get to another time, but just to give you some ideas, once you've got that information in NotebookLM, you can chat with it to come up with descriptions for videos and video shorts that you can put on YouTube or other places, and then take the descriptions of the content it creates, go into your video generating AI software and build things out. You can build some ebooks from this information. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And as you can see here, it listened to me almost. It's got this little guy right here for some reason that's staying in the way, but it built an infographic, and it just took a few minutes, and it used the information that we have in our source content in NotebookLM and generated some things. There, like I said, you can generate content to your heart's content with this. If you have any questions, make sure you visit us at businessaiinsiders.com and leave a question there. Put a question in the comment below. Make sure you smash the subscribe button, and we'll keep working on other ways that as you're building your solopreneur, small business, or medium, I'm having trouble today, medium-sized business, we'll take a look at AI and things that we can do together to build it out faster and smarter.